Here's News Radio 970 WFLA's Bob Lassiter.
What a mess. 9 minutes after the hour of 12 noon. The studio was, a little bit messy this morning, but I had to put some carpet freshener on the floor to try to get rid of 3 hours of cigar smoke. My God, that man smokes the cheapest possible cigars that are known to man. Whoa! Unreal. Where was I? 9 minutes after the hour of 12 noon. Welcome in. It is a Monday, October 31st, I do believe, otherwise known as Halloween, All Hallows Eve. One of those terms, whatever suits you is fine with me, no problem. I got some business to take care of before we get down to business. Now, I had promised, starting today, as a public service, since good old Channel 10 no longer advertises with us or with our sister station, WFLZ, because of the Cheryl Brown Appreciation Day, and I suppose those cheap shots of that great series on dwarfs. I got it on videotape, by the way. Did you guys? I guess probably all of you did. But nonetheless, there aren't any ads in the paper today for me to read, at least not in the Tampa Trib, or make that the St. Petersburg Times. I didn't see any in the Times. Son of a gun. So, I promised to read them, but I can't read them if they're not there, right? Okay, so as soon as they start running at, geez, do you suppose maybe the St. Petersburg Times offended them too, and that's why who knows? Just toss that. We don't need that. Okay, first of all, we'll get down to the mail, too, before we get on with this. Let us thank Edward Murphy. Ed sent us a brass bell to add to our other sound effects, like the whistle, the kazoo, the whoopee whistle, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you, Ed. We appreciate the bell. Two tooths to you there, or two rings to you. Like the other guy does tooths, that's right. Also, let's see, Jim Wilson. Oh, Jim sent us a great letter. Bob, here's an article to dispel your higher inflation rate flim-flam. You sure do bull sh blank blank the public. By the way, I saw you on TV for a moment. Wow, you're ugly, fat, and with the hair all over your head, you remind me of a troll. Your name should be Bluto. I didn't know Bluto looked anything like a troll, but that's beside the point. Bob, without your voice, you would still be the same liberal, socialist, communistic-leaning hippie bum you were, and most of which you still are. I don't understand that without my voice. Oh, well. You couldn't get the ratings in a region with some class. You need people the ilk of which is found in flaw. Again, by the way, Ms. Mary, quote-unquote, the decency lady, had to be hard up to take you on. Sincerely, Jim Wilson. And then Jim sent me a little clipping from the Wall Street Journal concerning some talk about flim-flam, concerning some people buying houses and how much easier it is for rich people to buy houses today. Jim, what we had said is that the average wage in this country is about $30,000. The average new house is about $120,000, and the two just don't add up. So what I said still stands, Jim, regardless of the Wall Street Journal saying that it is much easier today for wealthy people to buy homes. Okay. Oh, hey, I want to tell you, I guess it's probably the same way around your workplace or your home. People walking around this morning with raw fingers, a lot of blood dripping from them, from resetting all of those damned clocks. I tell you, the older I get, this daylight savings nonsense. I mean, man, I don't need to be out in the park playing baseball at 8:30 at night in July. It's just not what I'm into anymore. I don't understand. I mean, I've got something like 11 clocks that we had to reset. Three of them on my desk alone. I did not realize that I had 3 clocks, okay? One inside the computer and 2 digitals. Unreal. Michael's fingers are still dripping with blood. You must have even more over at your house. Unmerciful. Well, okay. Here it is, October 31st. Another year has gone by without my bagging a pumpkin. I have now gone 28 years since I got my last pumpkin and smashed it in the middle of the street and ran away laughing and giggling hysterically. And I'm really beginning to get worried. I mean, I'm 43 years old now. 43 years old, and I just don't know how many more good years I have left. I mean, this year, it was, the back's bothering me, my shoulder, my shoulder's been bothering me, and I just had the cold and everything. I didn't think it would be possible. I mean, at that point in my life, when I bagged my last pumpkin, I didn't really think it would be at least 28 years until the next one. 28 years since I got my last pumpkin, and I've been threatening now for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years to go out and do it one more time. I wonder if Brian Beckett and Buddy Johnson and Bill Alley and Joe McConnell and Joe Costello and Tommy Campbell and Brian Smith and all the guys I used to go out and steal pumpkins with. I wonder if they're 28 years in between their last pumpkin. Probably not. I mean, guys like that, they're probably out there even as we speak, putting lawn furniture up on roofs, checking out pumpkins to come back and steal when it gets dark. I mean, I know in my heart that these guys are out there doing these kinds of things. They have to be. I mean, these were my buddies. Also strange, I was sitting around thinking this morning how now if somebody came by to my house to do what I used to do to other people's houses, I would consider it criminal activity. I mean, if somebody came into my backyard and took the lawn furniture off the deck and tried to put it up on the roof or in the tree or whatever it might be, I mean, man, I'd be on the phone to the cops. I mean, if I had a gun, I'd be firing wildly. I would demand at least a 5-year sentence for this type of criminal activity. But life goes on. Nonetheless, it is Halloween, isn't it? Yes, indeed it is. Now, you see, I am a man who is frequently accused of saying things that I never say. Such as there ain't no God, something I've never said. Now, I can't begin to tell you just how much that disturbs me, nor can I begin to tell you just how sick and tired I am of all the attention recently devoted to Satanism. Those of you who subscribe to the Tampa Tribune had 3 lovely articles to read this morning about Satan worship, all of them written as though there really was satanic power in the world. So would you please allow me the pleasure of at least once going on record, once and for all now, with a flat-out statement, okay? With a flat-out denial of something that apparently a lot of you people would love to believe in. There ain't no devil, okay? You got that one? Write that down. There ain't no devil. October 31st, 12:16 p.m. He said it. Now, there well may be those who are convinced, those who have convinced themselves that there is a devil. But that doesn't make it so, does it? Just because you want to believe in the devil doesn't mean there is a devil or a Satan or a Lucifer or call it whatever you want to call it. Your favorite word for demonic powers. Reading through that article this morning, and again, I know I'm leaving out about half of you, but such is life. And if you want to listen to the show, you really should get both the Trib and the Times. But nonetheless, reading through the article, it is so refreshing to find that there are actually law enforcement officials in Hillsborough County who think that there are satanic powers, who think that there is a devil to worship. How refreshing it is to think that there are folks all over the area who will be voting next Tuesday who think that there is a devil, who think that there are satanic powers, supernatural powers of evil. And many of those people thinking that those supernatural satanic powers of evil are even stronger today than any other day of the year. I mean, come on, boys and girls. Where did this guy come from? This devil, this Lucifer, this Satan? He came from where? Madeleine Mary O'Hare, the atheist? No! He came from the church. No devil, no church. Simple as that. You got to have a devil or you ain't got no church. Because if you don't have a devil, then you don't need a savior. Now, let's be honest with each other, okay? All of those devil worshippers out there, they're catching left and right. What kind of background do these devil worshippers come from? Are they atheists? No. They're believers. I don't know what you call a guy who, heads up a little devil-worshipping group. So for the purposes of this conversation, let's call him a chief devil worshiper. Well, the chief devil worshiper is no different than the soothsayer or the faith healer or the cleric as far as that goes, because none of them have any supernatural power. None of them possess any magic, either good magic or bad magic. They just appeal to a bunch of folks who want to believe that there is magic, who want to believe that there are supernatural powers, and who want to believe these things without any rhyme, without any reason. I remember so well when I was in my late teens and I went off to New York to find my fame and fortune, neither of which I found. But I remember so well running into people who did their damnedest to convince the gullible that they were witches or warlocks or whatever they might be. I appreciate that most of you guys don't run into these characters out there. And I remember sitting there watching what appeared to be otherwise normal people, afraid not to believe, well, gee, maybe it is true. Maybe he can cast a spell on me. Maybe she can. Unreal. There is no rational thinking human being alive who could believe in, let alone worship, a devil. In fact, the only people who could are the very ones who take the Bible literally or damn near literally. Did it ever dawn on you that the godless people in this world have no devil worship problems? They're not out there, cutting heads off of pigs and praying to goat interns or whatever it might be. Did that ever dawn on you? I mean, what better group to go after than the godless? I mean, come on now. Suppose let's play a little role game here, okay? Suppose that there was a devil, okay? And suppose that you worked for him and you were in charge of recruitment. And, Lucifer came to you one day and he said, "Hey, look, Bill, recruitment's really down. We ain't been getting our fair share of souls here. Come on, Bill, get with it. Let's go out there and recruit." Now, if you were in charge of recruiting for the devil, who would you go after? Would you go after the people that know just the right incantations to drive you away? Would you go after the people who know the props to drive you away, holding up the cross? Or sprinkling some water on you that's been blessed? No! You would go after the people who don't know the right words, who don't have the props, who don't have the magic water. They're the ones you would go after if you were trying, to build up recruitment here. I mean, they are the ones you would go after, aren't they? I'd think so.
Say it's Halloween, so make sure when you go out trick-or-treating.
For God's sake, whatever any of you people do, if you're going out tonight to trick-or-treat, be sure that flashlight and that bright costume. Listen to the chief. He knows what he's talking about. 25 minutes after the hour of 12 noon. Did you ever notice how we laugh at other cultures who have evil spirits who explain away bad things? Like a lousy year in crops, or maybe somebody in the tribe is a little bizarre and does crazy things. Oh, possessed with evil spirits. Such folks are usually referred to as ignorant savages. But if you have evil spirits, well, those evil spirits are real. It's the other guy's evil spirits that are a little bizarre and, kind of good for slapping the old thigh and laughing at. Ha, 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 ignorant savage. Of course, this evil spirit thing here, this devil thing, does present some very interesting problems for those of you who are not such literal believers, okay? We're talking about the majority of you who don't take everything in there. See, the only source of knowledge you have about your Savior is a book that says that there are demons, there are devils, there are magicians, there are spells, there are soothsayers. All of these things are real, and they all have supernatural powers. I've always loved the Pick and Choose gang. They never fail to amaze me. Just as it amazed me last week when, again, the good old Tampa Tribune ran a front-page story about a horrible, tragic murder, a son hacking his mother to death with a knife. And I can't remember exactly what the the headline said, but it was something about satanic influence in murder. And then, of course, it was the good old Geraldo Rivera special. Everybody was talking about that. Oh, it's the devil, he's out there, the devil. Oh, people are worshiping Satan. Oh, how terrible to worship Satan. Last week, when we did that thing with Savin' Sam on the Oliver North appearance at Channel 22, I mean, there are, of course, all of the good Bible-believing Christians wearing all of their expensive clothing and jewelry, paying Ollie a hell of a lot of money to talk to them. Ollie was talking about how the godless communists were afraid of God. Huh? What? What did he say? $25,000 for this gibberish? Why, mercy, Ollie. If you don't believe in something, then you can't fear it. And if you do fear God, then you must believe in his existence, and therefore there aren't any godless communists. I mean, come on, Ollie, get your doo-doo together, man, huh? Boys and girls, there ain't no devil. Then I defy you to disprove me. It would be a hell of a lot easier to prove there's a God than there is to prove there is a devil. The concept of the devil is absurd. It's designed to either A, scare people into church, or B, to provide some kind of convenient excuse for your own shortcomings. You know, such as when a prominent, born-again, I mean, talk about Bible-thumping holy roller preacher like good old Jimbo Swaggart up there in Louisiana got involved with a hooker. It was, of course, the devil that made me do it. I tell you, friends and neighbors, it was the devil. The devil made me go and look at the hooker take her clothes off while I played with my auto parts. I would never do that. It was the devil that made me do that. How convenient. Stranger still how the folks who believe that the forces of evil can and do make people commit sins, you know, like going and taking your clothes off and masturbating while watching a hooker take her clothes off and masturbate. Strange how these folks who believe that the devil can make you do these bad things, when they catch somebody who has been made by the devil to do these bad things, some poor helpless human who is driven by a supernatural power to do wrong, what do they want to do? They want to kill that poor helpless human being who is at the mercy of this force of evil with supernatural powers far greater than his own. A supernatural power supposedly designed, created, and turned on the world by none other than your friend and mine, God. Like I said earlier, there well may be those who have utterly convinced themselves that they are worshiping the devil. And there well may be those who have convinced themselves that other people are worshiping the devil and that there are satanic forces, but just because they want to believe there is does not make them reality. So I thought, as a very special Halloween tribute to the gang out there who believes in devils, I thought that perhaps you might like to come forward to prove to the skeptics like myself that there is indeed a devil, that there are satanic forces at work in the world, forces of evil, working against the forces of good. That there are supernatural forces of evil at work in the world. I thought you'd like to come forward with your testimony on those. Now, please, do not misunderstand. Do not misunderstand for so much as 1 second. I'm not trying to make light of this. I do not consider it to be in the least bit amusing. So, you know, if you're one of those jokesters out there who want to call up and pretend to be the devil or something, I'm going to hang up on you in a real hurry. Because I don't find it amusing. I do not find it amusing when the front page of a major newspaper in a major city carries a story about Satan. And then the same major newspaper a week or so later runs a great big series on Satan. That's not amusing. It is not amusing when a country sits there and watches a buffoon who's already tricked them once on Al Capone's safe and a couple of other things along the way, does a 2-hour show on Satanism. That's not amusing. It's nothing to make light of. It's really very, very sad. So let me give you the telephone numbers. And, of course, what the hell? We'll give out the practical joke line. It seems to be a very appropriate topic for the practical joke line. 1-223-9797. And what an appropriate day to do it on. The time? 12:33.
People
12:34. The time. Michael, there were just a spate of calls that suddenly came off and on. May I inquire as to what that was all about? I can't hear you.
Okay, well, now you can.
Yeah.
One called and just wanted to be put on hold so he could listen to the show. Another called and just wanted to congratulate you on bringing out this topic. It wouldn't go on the air. And a couple of hate calls.
And a couple of hate calls basically suggesting that I myself am the devil, probably.
They didn't say it, but the implication was there.
Well, this is astonishing. I looked down at the Phenortner. The Phenortner is absolutely, totally, completely quiet. Boy, this is astonishing, boys and girls. I'm at a loss for words. No one out there to speak for the devil? Well, for the devil's existence. Well, that's incredible, because if you don't have a devil, then you have no need of a savior. And there aren't any amongst you who wish to come before your friends and neighbors? Or possibly they might even recognize your voice, and testify to the fact that there really are evil satanic forces? That there really is a devil? That he really does make people do bad things against their will? Because he's so much more powerful than they. I mean, goodness me. And if there ain't no devil, then I guess there isn't any need for religion. Is there? If there ain't no devil, I guess there's no need for a savior. Now, I do appreciate it is very difficult to explain the way that one about how only the believers seem to have devils, and that all those atheists and godless people, they don't have devils. And they're never possessed. Well, this is just amazing. If you want to, of course, give testimony as to the devil's existence, to the devil really being a real guy. Cindy in Lakeland. Cindy, you're on the, wrong one. Let's do that. Cindy, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob?
Yeah.
I do agree with you that there are satanic forces in this world.
Well, I beg your pardon. You don't agree with me. That's the most absurd, ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life about satanic forces.
You don't believe that there are?
Ma'am, did you hear anything I just said for the last 36 minutes?
No, I haven't been listening that long. I just heard that you were talking about them, and...
Well, tell me about those satanic forces.
Well, just look around us at the things that are happening, and...
Well, could you be a little bit more specific?
Well, the world is the shape that it's in general, the
world and the shape that it's in general is being more specific?
Well, I would say for instance, these kids, not only kids, but that get into drugs and they get into these organizations and cults and different things, and just in the last
Never dawned on you that the only people who do that are people who come from the church, that atheists don't get involved in that kind of nonsense. Never dawned on you?
Well, I suppose they do, and other people do too, but they're...
No, ma'am. You see, an atheist couldn't be a devil worshiper. It's utterly impossible. Because in order for an atheist to be a devil worshiper, an atheist would have to say that there are supernatural forces, i.e. gods. So, you never have to worry about an atheist being a devil worshiper. Ever.
Well, I'm not that well acquainted with an atheist, but, in the Bible it does say that the devil will come as a roaring lion and devour.
Yeah, I know. The Bible also says there are magicians and soothsayers. You believe that?
I guess there are, yes.
Oh. Ever met a magician?
Not a true one.
No. I guess they don't have them anymore. They just had them then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I enjoy
when they had
your
the soothsayers.
Program, and you're well read up on the Bible, because I've listened to you, when you've been talking the other way too. But I just believe that there are supernatural.
Even though you've never encountered any.
That I have never encountered any supernatural.
Right, you've never encountered any supernatural forces of evil in your life.
No, I haven't.
You don't know anybody that's ever encountered them, but nonetheless, you still want to believe that they exist.
Well, say, for instance, last week or so, the boy there in Tampa that stabbed his mother, was he driven by satanic forces?
Why, I don't really know what drove him to it, ma'am. I imagine that his mind snapped, but I can tell you that, according to the article in the newspaper, the house in which the murder was committed was filled with Bible quotations taped to the walls, religious pictures and icons taped to the walls, all those things that are supposed to drive away the devil.
Well...
And this boy was raised in that kind of an atmosphere.
Sometimes you can go overboard the wrong way.
Oh, ma'am, I don't ever recall reading anything in the Bible that says, but be careful not to have too many chants, or be careful not to have too many props to scare away the devil, because it'll have the reverse effect. I don't think it says that any place.
I don't mean that. I mean, maybe, I'm not saying the mother, but maybe somebody that still tries to drive that into somebody so much can go the wrong way and can go overboard and drive somebody the opposite way instead of the way that they're intending to. I don't mean that you can have too many forces against the devil.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was a house apparently filled with them. It didn't seem to do any good.
Evidently it did.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking.
Take care. Let's go to Jerry in St. Petersburg. Jerry, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine.
Listen, it seems kind of original to bring up on Halloween, but that doesn't matter. There are what you would call evil forces that are around us every day.
Oh, really?
Well, it's not a direct beam of evil beam, but the forces are around us.
There are evil supernatural forces.
Most definitely.
Well, why don't you tell me about some of them?
Well, it depends on how you want to get. Now, there are in the Tampa Bay area, you're an evil force.
Uh-huh.
Because you try to tell people there is no Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, Jerry, I don't believe I've ever said that.
Well, yeah, you
As a matter of fact, the only definitive statement I have ever made about religion, the only definitive statement I have ever made about religion is that there... Well, I know it's... Yeah, it's about the best you can deal with, right, Jerry? There ain't no devil, Jerry. Ain't none. Al in St. Petersburg. Al, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Al in Largo?
Whatever.
Okay. Listen, I just got done reading 3 volumes of work by Robert Ingersoll. So I don't really, have too much belief in the devil right now.
Well, then why are you calling up to try to tell me there is one?
No, I'm just calling to tell you about something that happened back in my college days up in Virginia. I went to school right outside of Washington, D.C., and it was about 1971. We had a visit from a Jesuit priest from Georgetown University, and he told us this story about this Father Karras and this little boy that was, possessed by the devil and this and that. And he said there was a book coming out. It's called The Exorcist, and you should get it and you should read it. He says, I knew this guy personally, and it's true, 100%. So I got the book and I read it, and it freaked me out. Back then I was pretty religious. And then I went and saw the movie, and of course it freaked me out too, But this man, he was. I don't think he was lying. I think he knew the priest, and I think he knew that he died in this horrible way, And I don't know. I just wonder what you think about that.
What I think about what?
About
book and a
about
movie?
Possession and that sort of thing.
Have you ever known anybody that was possessed?
No, I didn't know him personally.
Have you ever known anybody who was possessed?
No.
Do you personally know anybody who did? Outside of some guy who makes his living, by the way, going around talking about this kind of stuff. Did you ever run into anybody who did know someone that was possessed?
No, that was the only man I ever talked to, and I did talk to him personally after the lecture, about it.
I mean, don't you find it rather unusual that the only people that believe and firmly believe in devils are the people who firmly believe in the forces of good?
Yes, I do.
Isn't that awfully strange?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, but I'm just wondering what the heck was it? What the heck was wrong with that little girl?
Who says there was anything wrong with her?
Huh?
Who says there was anything wrong with her? Who says it was anything but somebody's vivid imagination? I mean, every single week, without fail, at some area church, a holy roller church, of course, they never seem to show up, down at the cathedral or at the Episcopal church. They only seem to show up at holy roller churches. But every single week in the Bay Area, there will be someone who comes in and announces that he is possessed of the devil. And then the preacher will go, oh, oh, and hold up crucifixes and chant words and drive the demon from him. Because what you have every single week is somebody who is desperately seeking attention and can't get it any other way than to walk in and say, oh, I'm possessed.
Yeah, but this little guy was only, 8 or 10 years old.
It was a girl for openers, and she was about 12.
Well, it was actually a boy.
Well, in the book, in the movie, it was a girl.
Yeah, I know. In the book and the movie, it was a girl, but it was actually a boy. See, what he told us was that 90% of that story was absolutely true, and the only part that wasn't true was it was a little boy, and he lived in Maryland. His mother wasn't famous. She wasn't a movie actress or anything like that.
I guess it must have been rather difficult to, masturbate with a crucifix if it was a boy. But outside of those minor details.
Details,
yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, anyway, I just wonder, about those kind of things. I don't see that this man had any reason to make it up,
No, this is a man who has had a good portion of his life devoted to study, devoted to mind-altering treatments to make him believe, to make him see devils and goblins and ghouls and evil spirits and nasty three-headed goats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you finally got to him, too.
So she was just sick.
Well, maybe he's the one that was sick. Maybe it just finally got to him that he can believe this kind of nonsense without ever having seen it.
Mm-hmm. But what about
without ever really knowing somebody who did.
Well, what about the 2 priests that were killed?
What about them?
What killed them?
How do you know they died? Would you do a read in a book or see it in a movie?
Well, according to him, they died.
I've seen lots of strange things in books and movies.
No, according to him. I mean, I didn't just get this out.
No, according to the book, there was only one that died.
Pardon me?
According to the book, there was only one that died. The other kind of went into, he withdrew.
No, they both died. The old man died of a heart attack, and the other guy got thrown out the window and broke his neck on E Street there or something.
Mind's a very powerful thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it can even see devils and make you jump out of windows.
Yeah.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Take care, 990. Leonard in St. Petersburg. Leonard, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Yeah, Leonard.
Yes. I was listening to your comments earlier on the...
Well, I would hope so if you called in.
Yes. About the disbelief of the existence of the devil.
Yeah.
I can only relate to this as my life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And before I became religious, I became a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I was being not overpowered by the devil.
You were an atheist before you became a Christian?
Not an atheist, but I was not following...
Oh. So you believed in God?
I believe in God, yeah.
And you had heard about the devil?
And I understand about the devil, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh, go ahead.
One of the reasons that you made a statement that atheists are not plagued or overpowered by the devil.
That's right, sir.
Well, that's the way the devil works. He does not seek to interfere with his own. If I have control...
Sir, I beg your pardon. Just because a person does not believe in God does not make him evil.
No.
And if you're implying that atheists are one and the same with devils, then I suggest, sir, that in a real hurry you prove to me how an atheist is an evil person just because he or she does not believe in God.
Well, according to the Bible, which is my tenet of belief, it says that those who believe in God are the ones who the devil is always trying to attack. I mean, those who don't believe in God, there's no problem. There's no
well,
reason.
sir, there really isn't anything in the Bible that I can think of that speaks of atheists. It speaks of people who believe in other gods.
Right.
Not of atheists, sir.
Other God apart from the one who made heaven and earth.
Yeah, but not of atheists.
Well,
there really isn't anything that I can think of in the Bible that addresses an atheist. It addresses pagans, people who believe in other gods.
Well, they're one and the same.
No, sir, they're not one and the same.
If you don't believe in the Creator God, then...
No, sir. You see, an atheist doesn't believe in any God.
Any God, okay.
Any kind of God. You know, he doesn't believe in the God of the moon. He doesn't believe in the God of the goat.
They don't believe in self.
What do you mean you believe in yourself? I would hope that you believe in yourself, sir.
I mean, they believe in the self as the sole entity of existence. As you can,
no, sir, they don't believe in souls.
So what do you believe is a motivating force of your existence if you don't believe there's a God?
It's called a natural instinct to live.
And you
know, parakeet has it, a dog has it, human beings even have it. It's a natural instinct to survive and live.
And how did this come about?
How does it come about, sir?
How did the existence come about?
Sir, I'm not here to explain atheism to you. I'm here to hear your testimony to the existence of the devil.
Okay, the Bible speaks of...
Sir, I know what the Bible says. I'm here to listen to your personal testimony as to the existence of Satan.
Well,
I mean, I can read in a book any place that, I can even find a book that tells me a woman once lived in a shoe and had a lot of children, and so many, as a matter of fact, that she didn't know what to do. I can find a book that says that.
That's rubbish, anyway.
Are you sure, sir? It's in a book.
It's in a book?
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's fairy tale.
Have you been taking smart pills?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, we wrestle not against ordinary...
So, in other words, sir, what the bottom line is that you have no proof of a devil's existence. Is that the bottom line, sir? You've never met one? You've never encountered one?
Okay, let's go back to my previous experience, my previous life experience.
Well, sir, I'm running out of time here. I mean, do you have a personal testimony of the devil's existence,
That's what happened to
sir?
the world. The world is running out of time.
Thank you, sir. You don't have any personal testimony of the devil's existence, and I've read the book that you're referring to. I know what it says. Charlie Davis standing by with the WFLA News Brief.
Good. I'll tell you, this is a toughie. I have no personal experience with Lucifer or Satan, so I can't present you with that, okay? However, there was a program on last week. I'm sure you heard of some of it. Geraldo's, he had a special on satanic forces in the U.S.
Yeah, right. The same guy that gave us, Al Capone's vault.
Right. I have to tell you that...
Which had a hell of a lot more substance to it than the last one.
Well, hey, listen, he brought up a lot of points which really kind of convinced me that there is a problem out there. I mean, it's not a question of...
Well, I agree with you. There are people who are utterly convinced that there are devils. There are people who are utterly convinced that they are worshiping devils, but that doesn't mean that there are devils.
Well, you create them, don't you? I mean, if you believe in a god, I feel that you must believe in some type of an anti-god. There's got to be something of that nature. Where there's heads, there's tails. Where there's a positive, there's a negative.
Well, that's the entire point. You see, if you create an anti-god, maybe you created the god too. And if there are no forces of evil, if there are no satanic powers working against the good powers, then maybe there aren't any good powers.
Well, what you're saying is, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is that right?
No, not at all. It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm telling you the only source of knowledge of evil is from the supposedly source of knowledge of good.
Well, I don't know. You've heard of this guy named LaVey or this so-called...
The guy that wrote the Devil's Bible? Yeah.
Right. Have you ever seen it?
No.
I took a glance through it once. It's pretty hideous. And it's pretty frightening if you ever... I mean, he teaches self-indulgence, the opposite of what God teaches.
I beg your pardon. Haven't you ever read the Old Testament?
Not very... No,
It also talks about human sacrifices. That also talks about animal sacrifices in very, very explicit detail.
Mm-hmm.
And also talks about indulgence. Like taking your enemy's wife or his gold or his, virginal daughter.
Did it also say death to the weak? Anywhere in there?
Death to the weak? Well, yeah, it was death to the non-believer.
Well, what I think is from this book that this guy has put out, he's just teaching you to go away from what is good. And there's, in my, I never really get involved with these conversations, but
well, there's no doubt in my mind that this particular individual that you talk about is a rather deranged, crazy dude.
Did you see this thing? Did you see Geraldo?
No.
You didn't see it?
No. No, it was on in the background. I was working on my computer.
It was pretty unbelievable, But,
what do you mean, pretty unbelievable? He showed you, people who worship a dead pig's head?
No,
but he didn't show you any satanic power, did he? Because there isn't any.
No, he didn't. He told you what went on in some of these meetings, though, some of these black masses, how they skinned babies alive.
Yeah, but he wasn't able to, provide any for you, was he?
No.
Just like the Tampa Tribune this morning talks about a Tampa cop who believes that there were at least 2 instances of women who had babies at home without going to the hospital so they wouldn't be registered, and then sacrifice them at a satanic mass of some kind. But he can't produce any proof. None. Zero. He just wants to believe it.
Let me also tell you that Geraldo interviewed a lot of people who were involved with these types of things, and they were pretty convinced that the devil was for real. And I know it's pretty tough for me to convince you, but the only thing I can suggest to you, Bob, is to take, if you ever get a chance to watch that Geraldo special, and then,
Well, sir, you've already told me that he didn't demonstrate in any shape, manner, or form that there are forces of evil. He showed you a lot of rather bizarre people. He showed you,
these bizarre people showed his audience. He interviewed.
Did any of them levitate?
No.
Did any of them turn, lead into gold?
No.
Did any of them take Geraldo to the top of the Chrysler Building and offer him the world as his kingdom?
Well, you're looking for certain. You're looking for certain.
I mean, did any of them do anything supernatural?
No. No, they didn't. But if that's what you're looking for, something supernatural, sometimes they won't reveal. I don't know. It's a question of either you do or you don't, and I guess...
Well, now, wait a second. If you show up at Geraldo's show to prove your point,
yeah,
it would seem to me the best way to pull that off is, rather than telling tales, would be to do something. Well, to drop a ball and make it float instead of drop. Turn some lead into gold, something.
What about skinning babies? Isn't that kind of hideous?
Did you see any babies skinned on the show?
No.
To the most heinous, hideous crimes who were nowhere near the site. It's one of the phenomena of human existence. People like to confess to things, terrible things, because it gives them a little bit of attention for at least a moment or two. Dave, I thank you much.
You have a point. Have a good day.
Take care.
106 at the... I'm Charlie Davis. Now here's more with News Radio 970 WFLA's Bob Lassiter.
6 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome back. It's Monday, Halloween, October 31st, 1988. And I thought as a kind of a special way to deal with the holiday, call it whatever you want, would be to talk about what the holiday is supposedly all about, the forces of evil and devils and ghosts and ghouls and goblins and things of that nature. Because it appears as though there are an awful lot of people in this country who would like to believe in such things. And so what I thought we would do this afternoon is to, I'm a skeptic, right? And I guess there are 4 or 5 other skeptics out there, too. And I thought that, perhaps those of you who can give testimony to the actual existence of devils, to the actual existence of forces of evil, would come before us skeptics and try to convince us that indeed such things really do exist. Now, again, I hasten to point out, do not misunderstand my intent. I am not amused by this in the least. And I'm not taking it lightly. I'm taking it damn seriously. So, anybody who wants to try to be cute and clever and call up and say, oh, I'm the devil, gone. It's not the purpose. Not the purpose of the program at all. Lyle in Temple Terrace. Lyle, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I believe in Satan or satanic forces.
Why? Have you ever encountered any?
Well, I believe that, it's evident in just the evil.
So, in other words, you've never encountered any forces of evil?
Yeah, I think I've encountered the forces of evil.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, I think what you're looking for is some kind of simplistic, explanation.
No, I'm not looking for anything simplistic. I'm looking for some proof here.
Well, it is the proof is in the evil nature of man in general. If you want.
What evil nature of man in general did you have in mind?
Well, anything, for example, Satan deals in a way that would cause a person to become obsessed or to do things which would take him away from God.
Oh, so in other words, Satan has a very convenient excuse for when you become selfish. And you don't want to hang around with hookers or something.
Satan could use greed as a way to take a person away from God, to cause, if a person is susceptible to greed, then that certainly could be used by Satan.
You believe that there are forces of evil with supernatural powers?
Yes. And I think that Satan works in those kinds of ways. I think if you're looking for a guy, running around...
What do you think should be done to a person who has been possessed by Satan and does bad things? What do you think should be done to that person?
You're looking for, when you say possessed, you're looking for some guy like, in The Exorcist that's flopping around on a bed or something like that.
No, that's not what I'm looking for at all. I'm looking for some guy that maybe goes down to the gas station and robs somebody and shoots them. Somebody's been possessed that way.
Well,
somebody that had these bad ideas put into his head.
Well, then the criminal justice,
so I see. So you want to punish this poor, helpless human being who has been possessed by the supernatural force of evil and forced to do something that he might not have otherwise wanted to do.
Well, if he, what I think, every individual, has the right to make a determination as to whether or not they're going to...
Well, no, wait a second. We're talking about a supernatural force of evil here that is far, far, far more influential and powerful than a mere mortal.
This. The Lord is also a supernatural force, but he leaves the decision up to the individual as to whether he's going to follow the Lord or whether he's going to follow Satan.
Well,
Satan
I beg your pardon. Satan would not leave that choice up to you because Satan, of course, has but one purpose. Satan is not playing... I beg your pardon.
Okay.
You're telling me that God is playing games with us to see if we'll do good or evil.
No, he's not playing games.
But Satan only has evil in mind. So
That's right.
He's not an either-or kind of guy. Satan does not give you a choice.
Satan does not give you a choice, but he is powerless against the forces of God.
Sir, did you ever know anybody who was possessed?
No, I know people that are possessed in the sense that...
You know people that are possessed?
Yeah.
Really?
In the sense
you ever hold up a crucifix to them, sir, and say, out, Satan, out in the name of Jesus?
See, now, and you say you were trying to take this seriously, but
I'm taking it very seriously, sir. That's what it says in the book.
No.
That's the kind of stuff it says in the book to do. So if you know people who are possessed by the devil, why haven't you tried to drive those devils from them as it tells you to do in the book?
No, because that's not how you do it.
No, sir, because you don't believe what it says in the book.
And what book?
The Bible.
Well... That's not what it says.
I beg your pardon, sir. There are some very explicit passages in the Bible as to how to deal with people.
There may be explicit passages to that effect.
So why haven't you ever used them, sir, on these possessed people that you know?
The way you deal with Satan is by believing in the Lord Jesus Christ and believing that he was raised from the dead.
Sir, you're talking gobbledygook. The book tells you how to drive out devils from people, and it tells you to do it. Why don't you do it?
Because that's not how you do it.
Well, it's what the book says, sir. Haven't you ever read it?
Yeah, I have read it.
Well, then why don't you do what it tells you to do?
Because that is not the way
it's done. No, sir, I'll tell you why you don't. Because A, you don't believe it, and B, you don't know anybody possessed by the devil.
Okay, let me ask this. Somebody who is, possessed by the love for money, possessed for greed, and will do anything for the love of money, will commit adultery,
commit adultery for money, sir?
Well,
most people would probably do that for free,
Okay, well, do anything, ruthless,
fair number of people would actually pay to do it.
To get to the top, and here you were trying to be serious. But
I'm being deadly serious, sir.
That person, you could say, is possessed from the devil because he's possessed by the need for something that takes him away from God.
Sir, you could say that he has, an extra active sex drive.
No, we're not talking about sex. We're talking about greed.
Oh, talking about greed. Well, that person you could also say is overly materialistic.
You can be possessed by the devil. Can possess you by the devil possesses you by giving you anything that will dominate your mind and take you away from looking to the Lord.
Well, let's see if we can't walk through this. Let's see if we can't make the example that you just gave make some sense here.
Okay.
The devil, of course, only goes after the believers. He doesn't go after the non-believers, right?
No, he goes after every non-believers also. He's powerless against the true believers.
Powerless against the true believers, sir. They're the only people that believe in the devil.
No.
Sir, have you ever met an atheist that believed in the devil?
It doesn't matter if they believe in the devil.
Well, have you ever met an atheist that believed in the devil, yes or no?
No.
So the only people you've ever met that believed in the devil were believers.
Yeah, but that does not mean the devil does not exist. You cannot believe in the Lord, and that doesn't mean the Lord doesn't exist.
Sir, it doesn't mean that he does.
Well, that's right, but that's beside the point.
No, it is the point, sir.
No.
Anyway, let's work through this,
sir.
You
are an atheist.
Sir, let's work. No, I'm not an atheist.
Okay.
So let's work through this if we can.
Okay.
The atheist is a non-believer in God, correct?
Right.
Well, he's also a non-believer in the devil.
Okay.
There is nothing the devil could do to tempt the atheist because the atheist doesn't believe that he exists.
Well, that's illogical.
No, it's not illogical, sir.
Yes, it is.
It is logic.
Because...
Sir, you can't be tempted by something that you don't believe exists.
Yes, you can. If you don't believe it exists, but because of ignorance, but it exists, then you can be tempted by it.
Sir, Okay. No, you can't.
Let me walk
you
through it.
You cannot be influenced by something that you do not believe exists.
Let me walk through it from my end and see how you respond to this.
Well, sir, we aren't through with mine yet, thank you.
Okay.
And it does say the Bob Lassiter Show on the top of the page there. So the devil can't influence, he has no need to influence the atheist, sir, because the only thing that the devil is interested in doing, from my reading of the book, is getting people to stop believing in God, right?
Well, that's correct from the standpoint that he doesn't have to work as hard.
So the devil doesn't have to work at all on people who don't believe in God.
He doesn't have to work as hard, but he has to work to maintain...
Sir, can you be saved? Can you know salvation unless you have accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
No.
Okay, so we're dealing with a bunch of people who are not going to be saved because they do not believe in God. Correct, sir?
Right.
Well, a lot of atheists, sir, have a love for money.
Okay.
A lot of them are also, have a love for giving it away. So therefore, sir, we have demonstrated to you that, a love for money is not the province of the devil, that some people have it naturally. Because there would be no need for the atheists to have any dealings with the devil. The devil doesn't have to take away the atheist from God because God doesn't have the atheist.
That's right. God does not have the atheist.
So that kind of destroys your argument that a lust for money is satanic, because we have now demonstrated that it has nothing whatsoever to do with it.
Anything is satanic that separates a person from the Lord.
Well, sir, the person's belief that there is no Lord has already separated him from it.
That's right.
So he doesn't need.
That's right.
So, that demonstrates that a lust for money is just nothing more than a human trait. It has nothing whatsoever to do with devils.
It can be a human trait used by the devil to separate somebody from the Lord.
But, sir, the atheist is already separated from the Lord.
Okay.
So there's no need for the devil to waste his time. I mean, there's so many believers out there. I mean, you take a poll and it says 95% of the people believe in God, 5% don't, i.e. 5% are atheists. So, I mean, why would you waste your time on the 5% that you've already got on your side, sir?
Because you're looking at it, again, simplistically. You're looking at
I'm looking at it logically.
The devil has to use his time wisely so he doesn't waste it on these people over here.
Well, he's a pretty smart guy, isn't he, sir? He's a hell of a lot smarter than you, right?
He works on everybody.
Well, sir, now, wait a second. The devil's at least as smart as you, probably smarter, right? He's a supernatural being, correct?
That's right.
Well, sir, if you're intelligent enough to realize that you have to prioritize your priorities, then I'm sure the devil's that smart, too.
Well, I'll grant you that he probably does prioritize.
Well, okay, so he's not working. So then you do agree with me. He's not out there working on the atheists.
Okay, but
it would be a waste of his time. They don't believe in him.
Okay, so you agree with me by saying that he's not out there working on the atheists, then that must mean that you believe he's out there working on other.
I mean, sir, when an atheist sees, let's say, a pig running around in a circle and oinking and maybe crashing into trees, the atheist says, "Whoa, there's a crazy pig." It's only, the believer that might say, "Whoa, that pig might be possessed by the devil." So you see, sir, there is utterly nothing that the devil could do to influence the atheist. I mean, he can't, get into pigs and make them run around and bark or whatever it is that they do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not going to impress an atheist.
Yeah. Once again, okay.
If the devil got a hold of an atheist and took him up on top of the NCNB building and said, "Follow me and I'll give you all of Tampa Bay," the atheist would say, "Whoa, I'm hallucinating. This is far out." He wouldn't be impressed by that, sir.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that point, but it sounds like that you believe there is a Satan if you believe that the Satan is spending his time on other things besides atheists.
No, sir. I don't believe that he's spending his time on anybody. I was just trying to demonstrate to you, sir.
Let me ask you this.
That he's not spending his time on anyone.
Okay.
He's not spending his time on atheists, and all these things can happen to atheists.
Do you
they can hallucinate.
Believe that there is an evil nature in man?
An evil nature in man, sir?
I mean...
Well, it kind of depends on what you mean by evil.
I mean, do you think that there is within man, a conscience of right or wrong?
Well, sir, man likes to be treated well, and most men have come to the conclusion that, the best way not to have your goods stolen, the best way not to have your wife stolen, that kind of stuff, is not to steal somebody else's. And men have come together in society and have agreed not to do these things. Not because, hey, Lyle, have you ever seen a good-looking lady on the street and said, "Whoa, vum, vum, vum," right? Right, guy? That's probably happened to you, right, Lyle?
That could happen, right?
It could happen. You mean it never has? Are you there, Lyle?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
That's beside the point.
Has it ever happened?
Yes, it happens.
Okay. Well, you see, that is not evil in and of itself. The only thing that makes it evil is you don't want somebody looking at your lady saying, oh, va-vum, va-vum, va-vum. So you have come together with the rest of society and said, since I don't want you va-vum, va-vumming my lady, I won't va-vum, va-vum yours.
The thing that makes it evil is if you become obsessed with the thought of lustfulness and it separates you from the Lord.
What is an obsession with sex? How many times a day would be an obsession with sex?
That's beside the point.
No, it's not beside the point. It is the point.
No.
What's an obsession with sex?
An obsession with sex is in terms of the Lord and Satan would be however many...
Well, Lyle, you don't know the Lord. I mean, really know him. And you don't know Satan, so you can't speak for them. You can only speak for Lyle. What is an obsession with sex? Give me an example of an obsession with sex.
I'm not going to give you an example of an obsession with sex.
Why not?
An obsession with sex would be something that you'd be so obsessed with it that it would separate you from the Lord.
Well, Lyle, there are some people that think that having sex for any other reason than procreation is an obsession with sex.
Well,
there are other people that think that 8-9 times a day with 5 or 6 different people is cool.
Then that makes my point. Every person has a different...
Oh, so then there isn't any obsession with sex insofar as Satan is concerned. It's an individual thing.
Yes, it's an individual thing.
Oh, so Satan has nothing to do with this. But earlier you blamed him for it.
No, Satan works through each individual, determining what their weaknesses, strengths, and weaknesses are, and he concentrates on their weaknesses.
He concentrates on their weaknesses.
Exactly right.
This is a guy that you weren't going to concede prioritized his time. But now you want me to believe that he sits down and looks at each individual and says, well, let's see, Cereal in there has a lust for chocolate.
Let me tell you how I think. You want me to tell you how I think?
So that's how I'll get to Cereal. Now, Lassiter, on the other hand, has a lust for dead cow skin seats.
Right. You want me to tell you how I think Satan would work on you?
Sure, Lyle.
I think that Satan would work on you because you have an expansive ego, intellect that thinks that he is so knowledgeable that he knows the answers, and therefore he's too intellectual.
So in other words, you would have
too intellectual to take a step of faith to believe in the Lord.
One second here, Lyle. Lyle, 1 second here. I'm trying to help you out. So in other words, my excessive ego, my intelligence, and therefore ability and skill to communicate,
you're
basically come from Satan so that, I can get his message out.
Your overinflated sense of self-intelligence and self-intellect is how Satan would work.
But Lyle, I do have intellect and intelligence.
I know, I admit that. But what I'm saying
I would have thought that they would have been gifts from God, the way that you think, not from Satan.
They are gifts from God, but they can be used by Satan to... Well,
that was kind of dumb of God to give me those gifts, huh?
No. If God gives you those gifts, it's up to you how you use them.
I guess God didn't know how I'd use them.
He didn't know how you'd use them.
But he gave them to me anyway.
Right.
Oh.
And he left it up to you to decide how to use them.
Uh-huh.
And you decide by
he didn't give them
using
the
your
cereal.
intellect to refuse to...
Wait a second. Why didn't he give them to Cereal?
To what?
Why didn't he give those gifts to Cereal? Why didn't he give Cereal a deep voice?
Who?
My producer.
He gives each individual different gifts.
Yeah, why didn't he give them to Sliwa? Sliwa walks around saying things like, hey, I don't care.
He gives each individual different gifts. I'm sure those people that you mentioned have
So, in other words, God gave those gifts to me specifically so that Satan could use them to work against God through me.
He gave you those gifts to use for the Lord, but Satan...
But he knew in advance that I wasn't going to, didn't he?
He knew that Satan could use those gifts.
Well, now wait a second. There's no could here. I mean, did God know that I was going to do this show before he created me?
He probably did, yeah.
What do you mean he probably did? He did or he didn't? Did he?
Now you're getting into the whole thing of
So in other words, God gave me these gifts that Satan could use them.
He gave you the gifts so you could use them. You make the choice. He probably knew...
Wait a second. God already knew what choice I would make.
Right. But
so he gave me the gifts anyway.
Left the choice up to you.
I mean, it would seem to me that if God was working in his own self-interest, he'd have given me a voice like this.
No. He leaves it up to the individual.
Oh. Have you ever seen People like on, religious shows who say they're possessed of the devil?
Yeah, I've seen people like that.
Gosh. Wouldn't you think that the devil would go after a guy like me who had these great communication skills, who didn't look like some type of a mutant?
I think he has.
Well, then how come I'm not withering around on the floor?
Because, see, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for some type of simplistic, banging on the floor, floating around. You're looking for the exorcist type experience.
Lyle. I'm looking for
much smarter and much more
Lyle. I'm not looking for anything simplistic. It's just what I'm getting. This is Scott in Clearwater. Scott, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, the August 19th.
It's the original Scott in Clearwater, the weasel in the dress. Okay, August 19th, yeah?
The August 19th, 1982 edition of the Clearwater Sun had a...
Which you just happen to have handy, yeah?
No, I don't have it handy. But I do remember reading the story, and there was a story about a man who apparently... It was a big story on Section A. It was the biggest story in the Clearwater Sun that day.
Well, the Clearwater Sun has run front-page articles on me, too.
Right. Well, this is even bigger than yours. And
no, Scott, don't go, getting into some kind of contest about mine's bigger than yours.
Right. Well, anyway, this story was about a man named Francis who owns the antique store in Clearwater. And he had this relationship with a Scientologist, a young woman from the Church of Scientology in Clearwater. And she convinced him to go to one of their classes where they hook you up with this little skin galvanic thing and do this editing or whatever it's called.
Auditing, yeah.
Yeah, auditing. Excuse me. Well...
then they edit you later.
Right. They take your money or something. And,
no, that's called fleecing you. They do that, too.
But this man named Francis, after going through this auditing, started living. He left his antique business, closed it down, and started living for 2 or 3 weeks in his car. And his sister, who was...
What's this got to do with testimony of the proof of of Satan?
Well, that's what I was getting to.
I mean, you're a long-time caller and listener, Scott. You understand ratings periods. You got to, pick up the pace a little bit here.
I see. Well, anyway, this is a perfect example of someone who was and did become demon-possessed. The reporter who wrote the story...
Wait a second. Somebody flipped out for a chick, gave up his business, and moved into his car, and that's, proof of demon possession?
After going through this auditing, he became apparently possessed.
What do you mean he became apparently possessed?
Behavior.
So, in other words, you have utterly no personal knowledge of anyone who's ever been possessed, but you read about it once in the Clearwater Sun.
Well, this is a secular paper, and if you read the story, this person, after going through this auditing...
Well, I seem to recall, an article or series of articles, actually, that ran in the Washington Post by a reporter concerning, welfare and stuff like that wasn't true either.
Right. Well,
so newspapers do sometimes run things that aren't true.
But the things that are described in this story that even looks like it was taken right from out of the Bible when Jesus would cast out demons out of demonic people. And the same Francis,
you of course have that power from Jesus to cast out demons, don't you?
According to his word, yeah, I do.
Am I demon-possessed, Scott?
I don't think so, no.
You don't think so?
No.
No, you're a lot smarter than I thought you were, Scott.
But in the story, this man named Francis, before he was taken away to Horizon Hospital, came into the...
Funny they didn't take him to the church. If they really believed that he was possessed by demons, funny they didn't take him to the church, but took him to Horizon Hospital.
Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's why there's a lot of people out there that don't believe in Satan or demonic possession.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Scott. 95% of the people would have to believe in Satan if the polls are true about the 95% of the people who believe in God.
Well, we have a nation here that possesses or professes to be Christian, but it doesn't really look like that's the truth.
Well, we've got a guy on the phone who possesses, to believe in devils, but yet has never encountered any. But read about the once in the August 19th, 1982 edition of the Clearwater Sun.
Well, I've also seen a real live on tape, devil-possessed girl.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I told you about this, but apparently you didn't want to look into it.
Well, I've seen such things for my, own benefit on television, too.
Right. Well, getting back to the story...
It's always funny how they're relatively insignificant people who have been causing such havoc in the community, but were never heard of prior to showing up on Sunday for the devil getting out show, and are never heard from again. It's, kind of strange. What'd you think?
Well, there's over 240 million people, and it's hard to keep track of, every individual.
And it's really funny that the guys that drive out devils, on their Sunday morning TV shows, it's really funny that one of them, for example, never showed up at the Pinellas County Jail to drive the demons out of Billy Furry. Huh.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, I know that they weren't successful.
Well,
the guy's still crazy as a loon, isn't he?
The Bible says that they come out by prayer and fasting, so maybe somebody isn't prepared.
Well, no, the Bible also says that, they can come out by repeating a certain set of words.
No, I don't think so. They're supposed to come out in the name of Jesus.
Well, yeah, exactly. The devil, I command you in the name of Jesus. That's basically how it's done. I've seen it done lots of times.
See, the name of Jesus is above every name, so they have to come out.
Yeah, well, isn't it funny, though, that none of these guys who have the power, such as yourself, ever showed up at the jail to drive the devils out of Billy Furry?
Well, I don't think he's ever in a Pinellas County jail.
Well, did I say Pinellas County? Excuse me.
But anyway, back to this antique dealer in the Clearwater Sun. He came to this, the person who wrote the story said that he confronted this man, and a voice was coming out of this man that wasn't the voice of the man. In other words, his voice was saying, Francis, we're going to get you, Francis. And so if you can believe that story, then you would have to...
Well, I don't believe the story because the guy that wrote it didn't take him to the church. He took him to a hospital.
Well, actually, it was the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department that took him to Horizon Hospital.
Well, funny that the guy called the Pinellas County Sheriff instead of, some exorcist.
Yeah.
If I believed in devils, I sure as hell wouldn't call the cops. I'd call it an exorcist if I had encountered someone who was possessed. Believed that they were possessed by satanic forces.
There are devils out there, and...
in the good old days, when a marshal used to carry 2 guns, I suppose you could whip out your guns and make the sign of the cross, but now they only carry 1.
Well, I don't think the sign of the cross is going to do anybody any good.
Oh, I beg your pardon. It's a symbol of Christ, isn't it?
Well, it's the person who is on the cross.
And all those people that I've seen driving devils out on Sunday morning television usually hold crosses up to them. And then all the people who are possessed, then they really go wild when they hold the crucifix up. That's when they really start shrieking and rolling on the floor and trying to get away. And then all the ushers have to, suspend taking up collections and come down and hold them so that the exorcist can drive the devil out.
What program would it be in particular that you've seen?
Oh, my goodness. I've seen, what is his name? The guy that's on Channel 32 at night. Bob, I was going to say Bob Schumann. No, he's not an exorcist. Schuler. No, not Schuler. No, not Gene Scott either. The guy that's on before Gene Scott. Well, nonetheless, I've seen Ainsley do it. I've seen a lot of guys do it. Even had a guy in the studio once, who I think is the one that you had the tape of from the Crossroads Cathedral. Yeah, once a month he drives devils out.
That's Dwight Thompson.
No, not Dwight Thompson. Wasn't his name.
Well, Dwight Thompson came to that particular church in St. Petersburg.
Leslie Hale holds a once a month devil driving out service.
Right.
I guess unfortunately, if you're possessed the day after, you have to wait a full month for the next one.
Well, you have to also watch out that they don't come back.
Also, I wonder how he knows people are going to show up who are possessed by the devil. Well, details, I know.
Well,
can you imagine what a bomb would be if 600 people show up waiting to see, some devil driven out of some poor slob and nobody showed up with a devil in him?
Well, I think that...
You better know, if you're going to take out an ad in the newspaper and everything, you better know for sure that you got somebody showing up like that.
Well, that's sort of a strange promotion anyway for someone to make a plea for devil-possessed people.
Well, I wouldn't think it any more strange than somebody that makes a videotape of it and then sells it to guys like you.
Well, I don't think they sold it to anybody.
Oh, you didn't have to send in a donation to get it, huh?
Why don't you call up some of the particulars in this story? The girl lived in St. Pete area. You could call up Channel 22 and talk to Arthleen Rippey. That's her church. It actually happened about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you got it on tape. For how much of a donation did you have to make to get that?
No, I don't have it personally on tape.
I thought you said you did.
No, I said I saw it.
Oh, you're too cheap to send for the tape.
No, I don't think they would send me a tape. You know, they send a tape to a studio.
Uh-huh.
The studio plays it, and I receive it on my television.
Uh-huh.
And I watched for an hour, and these Christians weren't able to, until the very end of the hour, to cast this.
You're kidding. It took the exact hour that they had for the show. Son of a... It was kind of like a climax, right? Just as the credits were about to roll, then the person was relieved of the demon.
Well, apparently Jesus can just command them to go because he's God in the flesh.
Well, I guess Jesus has a pretty good sense of showbiz, you know, and he didn't do it in the first 2 minutes and then leave them with 58 minutes of nothing. That Jesus, I tell you, he's got showbiz flair. Waited to the last second to drive the devil out, right?
But see, the Christians who were there for an hour weren't prepared to cast out demons.
Well, wait a second. Whoa, what do you mean weren't? What kind of lousy Christians were they?
Well, they're spiritual Christians, but they're through prayer and fasting. They should be able to instantly cast out the devil.
I don't remember anything there about, prayer and fasting. I just seem to recall some very explicit words. This is what you do.
Right, well...
Because I suppose, I would guess that whoever was writing this stuff down was sharp enough to know that, perhaps the possessed person wasn't going to sit down and wait for you to fast for the appropriate period of time.
Well, Jesus told us, or his disciples came to Jesus. They saw Jesus casting out demons. They tried to do the same thing, and they said nothing happened. He said, these come out through prayer and fasting.
Oh, well, you said something else earlier. I guess that's where they got confused.
Well, I'm not confused.
No, you confused? No way.
I don't believe you're demon-possessed, but you are deceived, and that's the main priority.
How am I deceived, Scott?
Well...
You mean because I don't believe in satanic forces?
No, because you don't believe in Jesus Christ.
Oh. But you're not worried, then, about my not believing in satanic forces?
No, that's irreverent.
I guess Jews and Muslims are also deceived.
Well... Everybody is deceived.
Wait, did you say irreverent? I'm irreverent because I don't believe in satanic forces and demon possession? That makes me irreverent?
No, let's say it's non-essential that you believe in devils.
Well, Scott, no, I beg your pardon. You see, it is absolutely essential because I don't need a savior if there aren't devils. I don't need to be saved from anything that doesn't exist. So in order for me to believe in Christ, I would have to believe in devils first.
No. You need to believe in Jesus Christ and...
Well, no, Scott, you got it backwards. You see, I would have no need for Jesus Christ unless I believed in satanic forces that caused me to do sin that, saddened my Savior.
No, you don't need a devil to cause you to sin. That's already your nature.
No, Scott, please. Don't insult me now. Don't call me a sinful-natured man. I'm not.
That's what you are. That's what we all are.
No, Scott. That deeply offends me.
That's why you call people subhuman pigs and the wimp in the dress or whatever you call
it. Weasel in a dress.
Weasel, that's right.
Well, that's just because that's the mental picture I get when I hear your voice on the phone.
That's probably true.
Get this picture of this little skinny weasel sitting there holding the phone up with a little withered paw and a polka dot dress.
Well, I am kind of smallish, I guess. God makes all size people.
Yes, and all different kinds of voices.
Right. Mine is the
most of which he gives, the good voices he seems to give to a lot of the bad guys. I don't understand it.
But anyway, I don't know how I could prove to you that there are devils anymore.
Well, real simple. Give me some personal testimony.
Well, I'm trying, I told you about this.
But you don't have any, so how could you possibly be trying to give me personal testimony that you've already admitted you don't have?
Well, I have personal testimony in the fact that demonic spirits, some type of spirits, harass me. Personally.
Demonic spirits harass you, Scott?
Right, they don't manifest themselves.
How do they harass you, Scott?
Oh, little bumps and noises and clicks and sounds.
You hear little bumps and noises and clicks and sounds all the time?
Yeah.
Do you ever hear any ringing in your ears?
I think that's tinnitus.
Pardon?
I believe that's called tinnitus.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. But they do harass me because I know what their game is.
What is their game, Scott?
Well, to deceive people and take them to where they're going.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You mean by hearing bumps and noises, that's going to deceive you and make you do bad things?
No, they can't deceive me any longer.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll try to deceive non-believers.
Uh-huh. Well, but you said that they're working on you.
They harass me. No, they don't try to deceive me.
They? How many are there?
Truth.
How many are there?
I don't know. I guess, Paul had his thorn in his side. That was a satanic messenger to harass him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what it did.
Who it was. Might I be kind of like a thorn in your side? Might I be part of this
No, he's just a lost sinner.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a thorn in your side, though.
No. No, I like you very much.
Well, it is a very entertaining show.
But, see, there's all these folks out here that are getting dressed up, as ghouls and goblins and all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a big yuck.
What about those who are getting, dressed up as pirates and tigers and Cher, Ronald Reagan? What about them?
What about them?
Well, they're, getting dressed up today, too. Are they as bad as those that are getting dressed up as ghouls and goblins?
Well, they're celebrating an unholy day.
Uh-huh.
And, God is consistent.
Wait a second. How could this possibly be an unholy day? I thought that every day was a day that God made.
Well, why are they celebrating it in such a bad way, then?
What, by going out and asking for candy?
No, it's dressing up as things concerned with evil and death and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And, God is consistent. He tells people not to get involved with things in the occult, in the spirit world.
Yeah, he also says they're for real.
That's right.
So you believe that there really are soothsayers who can see into the future and astrologers who can predict and magicians, things of that nature. They actually exist.
If they have a spirit of divination, but I believe most of them are phonies.
Phonies?
Right, phonies.
But some of them are real.
Some of them actually have.
And there are some people who really can read a deck of tarot cards that really have the satanic power to put those cards out there in the sign of
satanic power. They'd say it's my higher self.
But you would say it's satanic power. There really are people that can spread out the tarot deck in the sign of a cross and read things in those cards. They really exist.
Right. A person who really has a spirit of divination.
Uh-huh.
Another type of devil. A spirit who gives the person through their mind, knowledge that of this person they're trying to help out.
Isn't it strange that people who don't believe in God don't believe that there are people who can read tarot cards?
I guess. So where's this conversation leading?
Higher ratings. Oh, let them listen, Okay. You know what I mean? Holds them through the news, because this way, if they don't like what I'm going to talk about, we're talking about a group of Christians who get together for the benefit of the audience.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about a group of self-proclaimed Christians who get together to...
That's correct.
For the benefit of the audience. Okay.
Right. We were having a communion service, okay? And there was this one woman brought her little boy to the Christian fellowship, and we started the communion service, and all of a sudden the kid started cursing. While we were praying, he was cursing and yelling and, saying some real dirty words. And he was only like 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped the fellowship, and I just took the little kid and his mother to another room, and I just prayed for him.
Well, wait a second. Let me see if I understand this, because, again, maybe I'm reading the book differently, but I thought when two or more came together to ask something in his name that he was amongst them. So, in other words, when you were praying, God, the Spirit of God, would have been right there with you, right?
That's right.
And, of course, the devil couldn't possibly exist where God existed.
Why not?
Well, because the devil can't stand being with God. Right? See, it's God's presence that drives devils from people, right?
No, he can't stand to cohabitate with
Cavani. God was there with them.
That's right.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Why not?
Well, the devil couldn't be there.
Well, what about Jimmy and Tammy, or Jimmy Baker, if he did what he did?
Well, he wasn't at a fellowship. He was in a motel room, He wasn't at a fellowship. He was in a motel room. He wasn't there praying with other people when Jessica came in.
What about all these evangelists on TV? I don't believe in the things they're doing, but they do. They beg people for money, and people that believe in God are still there. But I believe they're being influenced.
Yeah, but what's that got to do? But what's that got to do with the devil?
What does what have to do with the devil?
With the devil that you're trying to tell us about at the fellowship.
Well, see, you changed it. Well, you kind of got me off the track a little bit. Okay, look. The kid had, dirt was coming out of his mouth, okay?
Dirt coming out of his mouth.
You know what I'm talking about. Bad words.
Okay, bad words.
Anyway. So, he was just unruly, okay?
By the way, what makes those words bad?
Huh?
What makes those words bad? There's really no such thing as a bad word, is there?
It's really not the words, it's what's behind the words. What's
behind the word? But you're the one who determines what's behind the words.
The person, that's right, determines what's behind the word.
Well, for example, if I said vavoom, vavoom, that in and of itself is not a bad word, right?
Right.
But if I said, hey, look at that chick over there, I'd like to vavoom, vavoom her.
Right.
It's the same word, right? Vavoom, vavoom. But, you're the one who has determined that it's a bad word.
Like you say, when you say the word God, that does excuse me. Whatever.
Oh, that's okay, we took it out.
Anyway.
Words that you're apparently very familiar with, yeah.
That's right.
They seem to have rolled naturally off your tongue.
That's right.
I guess maybe the devil's got a hold of you this morning with these words coming out.
Anyway.
For the benefit of the audience, those who are on hold know that Mark gave us an example of some bad words.
Okay. Can I finish the story?
Please.
Okay. So I took him in the other room, and I prayed for him. I said, ask God to, take the spiritual influence out of this kid, to calm his heart, to take the darkness out of his life. So I finished my prayer, and I prayed for about 3 to 5 minutes, I guess. And then we went back into the fellowship room. All the other people were in the room, and he was quiet, and he didn't say a word for the rest of the fellowship. This is a little 5-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say a word.
I suppose it's possible. I suppose it's possible that the kid's mother or father also used those words like you just did, and the kid could have picked up.
I don't think so. I don't think she actively ever prayed for him. I don't know. I never asked her.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, then after the fellowship, it was a good communion service, and after fellowship, this kid started picking up the Bibles and stacking them up in line, took everybody's Bibles and stacked them up, and took all the songbooks and stacked them up. And plus, the kid, before he left, I'm a white person, and I don't know what, a black person, a little black kid. Anyway, he hugged me, and he said, I love you, and all this. Now, how can you explain the difference between one extreme to the other like that?
Well, how can you explain you're using those words and not being possessed of the devil, but the child using those words being possessed of the devil? That would seem to me to be the real question here.
If it's in opposition against God, that's a whole different story.
Well, first of all, a 5-year-old child has no concept of being in opposition to God.
That's right.
So the child wasn't in opposition to God. The child was simply mouthing some words like you just did.
Right, but he's being influenced. Maybe he knows it, maybe he doesn't. He's being influenced, maybe not directly. Do you think words like that hurt God? Well, if they're in opposition against him, if people are using them to hurt other people.
Well, just saying them, having somebody who wasn't expecting to hear them, that would be hurting them, wouldn't it?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Just having people who weren't expecting to hear them, having those words uttered would hurt those people, right?
Right.
And that would of course make God very unhappy.
That's right. In some situations, you got to be careful about what you say to people.
I guess it must have been the devil that made you say those words.
No.
Just now. No, but Mark, people who weren't expecting to hear them heard them. Charlie Davis standing by with a WFLA news brief. Before the time so far, and an hour and 54 minutes, we've heard 2 exciting testimonies. One from Scott in Clearwater, that the satanic forces of evil have been, troubling him with noises, bumps and clicks and static, things of that nature. And the other startling testimony was a 5-year-old child throwing a temper tantrum at a fellowship meeting. That sounds to me like something we really have to be very, very concerned with. Very concerned indeed. Colleen in Tampa. Colleen, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I want to tell you how I know there's a devil.
Okay.
I know there's a devil because school buses with beautiful little innocent children go skidding off highways and all the kids die and burn.
Oh.
And I know there's a devil when I see that.
Uh-huh.
But I know that when the school bus slides and doesn't go over the cliff and everybody's safe, then I know there's God.
Well, I guess then sometimes there must not be a God.
Well, I just think the devil must have too much power and, like...
The devil's more powerful than God. God can't save those innocent little children on the school bus.
Thank God when the bus doesn't go off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the starving...
Do you also thank God when only half of the kids on the bus are killed?
Right.
Oh.
Right. You have to... Well, you know, the devil...
Thank God for only killing half of them.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And how about the starving people in the world?
How about them?
Yeah, that's the devil's work, Bob.
That's the devil's work. Well, you know, why can't God feed them?
I don't know. Well, when...
I mean, don't you thank God for your abundance in this country?
Right, God likes it.
Well, then why doesn't God have... God doesn't like Ethiopia?
No, he mustn't. That's the devil's work. I don't know. Maybe God's sleeping then.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you know, everybody needs sleep.
Yeah, he must be. Well, but we give a lot of money to God in this country, so maybe that's why he's here and lets the devil be over there.
Could be. Thanks, Colleen. Glenn in Tampa. Glenn, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Bob, you know who it is.
Yeah, Glenn in Tampa. It says so on my screen here.
Pardon?
Yeah, it says so on my screen, Glenn in Tampa. That's what it says.
Yeah.
No, I'm assuming you're telling me.
Yeah, I think you know I discussed you on the Ted Webb show a year ago. You had a program on witchcraft.
Uh-huh.
Ted believed in it and came on, and I think you monitored that. And I can.
Well, no, think again, I didn't. Well, no, think again, I didn't monitor the program.
Yeah.
So you said what now?
For your edification, can I give you some
what
proof
did you say?
Demon possessed without you asking any questions?
Well, it would seem to me the best way to deal with that. You are, of course, a good Christian, sir.
Yep. Well, if you don't want to listen, I'll go.
Sir, I'm asking you a question. Are you a good Christian?
No, do you want to listen or not?
I'm asking you a question.
You're
are
not
you
asking
a good
questions. I forbid you to.
Let's go to Jack in St. Petersburg. Jack, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Quick now, Jack. Let's go. Jack, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
The way I know that there's a devil is that I'm trying to think of the best way to put this.
Well, that would be the best way, of course.
There's times when I really deep down can feel evil. You know, I really sometimes just feel extremely evil and wicked and filled with hate. And I can't explain why it is, Bob. It just sometimes is that way. And it can be the littlest thing that sets me off. And, you know, I'm seriously, at those times, you know, I could kill if I had a weapon.
No, that's called a temper. Everybody has one.
But
even people who don't believe in devils have tempers.
But it could be something so trivial that normal people, it wouldn't set them off. And usually it's things that I see on religious shows.
Mm-hmm. I told you I'm not taking this from a lighthearted point of view. Thanks a lot, Jack. Henry in St. Petersburg. Henry, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi. Doing a good job on trying to get some people to think a little. But going back to the Geraldo show, I think that he was not trying to prove the existence of Satan.
No, he accepted Satan's existence.
Well, okay, let's say he did. But anyhow, I watched at least one of his shows on that subject. If there were more, I don't know. But the point is that there are religious nuts who...
Are you here to give us testimony on the existence of the devil?
I'm here to point out some illogical argument you used.
So you are not here to give us testimony on the existence of the devil?
As I pointed out to your producer, he asked me the same question, and he put me on when I said that I wanted to point out that there was a little bit illogicness in your argument.
Well, let's get to it real quick, because I'm almost out of time.
The point is that it is irrelevant whether he produced proof of baby skinning or not. The point is that there are groups that do it doesn't prove the existence of Satan, but there are groups that do religious sacrifice for Satan.
Sir, until you can produce proof that they use babies, then it's an empty accusation.
It's irrelevant. It doesn't prove the existence of Satan either way. It just proves that there's nuts that do it.
No, sir. Unless you can produce the proof that there are nuts that do it, it is just a rumor.
Here. I'm Charlie Davis. Now here's more with News Radio 970 WFLA's Bob Lassiter.
Minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock, Halloween 1988, or put another way, October 31st. 1988, a Monday, which is in and of itself, grief usually. I thought, last year on Halloween, we talked about Halloween pranks and that kind of stuff, and people, enjoyed that show, and that was cool. But I thought that this year we talk about what Halloween supposedly, at least what people tell me, is all about some kind of a celebration of the evil forces, the satanic forces, loosed upon this earth by you-know-who. I won't rub that one in your nose. Now, there are people always trying to tell me that I need saving and that I need salvation and that the world needs salvation. And obviously a lot of people have swallowed that argument and been saved, and there are still quite a number of us, though, who have not. Now, I find it usually rather repulsive when somebody tries to save me by telling me, what great inner peace it will give me, because I have inner peace. So obviously the only other way to attack this problem of those of us who have not been saved is to demonstrate to us that there is something to be saved from. I mean, if you're going to be saved, you have to be saved from something, right? And what you're supposed to be saved from is Satan and his place, the lake of fire, or whatever they're calling it these days. So if you want to save somebody, then you have to demonstrate to them just what the hell it is that you're trying to save them from. And since it's Halloween, I thought that we would devote this program to serious-minded people. I'm not in the least bit amused by this. To tell you the truth, I'm damn concerned by it. I thought we would take this opportunity to give personal testimony to the existence of the devil. Now, we have had one guy that said, very, very fervent believer, at least that's what he tells us, man well into his 30s. The only personal testimony that he could give us is that satanic forces try to tempt him or work against him by making him hear things like bumps and grinds, I guess. I don't know. And then another guy said something to the effect of he once attended a prayer service where a child threw a temper tantrum and uttered naughty words. And that was his personal testimony to this great force of evil in the world. Well, I hate to be a skeptic, but, my goodness. I think I'm more convinced after what I've heard than I was before I came into the studio that there is no devil. There is no satanic force of evil at work in the world. None. And as I pointed out in the initial monologue, the only people that seem to believe in satanic forces of evil are those people who believe in God. But the strange thing is not all people who believe in God believe in satanic forces of evil. Yet the only source of information about the existence of God is the book that tells you about the satanic forces of evil. Which, again, I find very curious. I refer to those people as the pick-and-choose crowd, or pick-and-choose gang, as the case may be. So there is now something in the neighborhood of 49 minutes left in today's program. 49 minutes. To step forward and give personal testimony to the existence of a devil. See, I have told you flat out that I cannot say something as absurd as there is no God. That's a ridiculous statement. But I don't find it a ridiculous statement at all to say there is no devil. And I do say so. Flat out. There is no devil. The devil does not exist. The devil is a figment of your imagination, nothing more, nothing less. Unless you can prove differently to me. There are 3 lines. And again, I'm being deadly serious about this because I find it a deadly serious topic. When people are running around believing that there are forces of evil working against them that they can't see, that they can't touch, that apparently they have never had any encounter with, but nonetheless want to believe are out there. So I'm not making light of it, and don't you dare. I mean, if you've got some clever idea about calling up and being cute about it, bam, you're gone. Jerry in Gulfport. Jerry, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
How are you, Bob?
Fine, Jerry.
I've seen it. Now, let me start. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Now, let me start by saying I haven't seen, quote-unquote, a devil.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at a service and did see someone who was demon-possessed.
Oh, what do they do?
Well, have you ever seen anyone in an epileptic seizure?
Yeah.
Okay. And they were also, as they were having this epileptic seizure, were speaking, and it was mostly blasphemies against the Lord.
Uh-huh.
And the thing that was interesting is this person...
Had you ever seen this person prior to the service?
Yes, he had been a person in our church, and we had never, known that he was, quote-unquote, possessed.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess he couldn't have been. If the things that the devil hates, of course, are church services.
Yes, but...
So he must not have been possessed then.
Well, he had, he apparently had been there. He'd always been kind of, aloof and in the background, and he'd never been what you would have called a strong believer.
Mm-hmm.
And one night we were up there and reading from Matthew, and he just, in the pew, began to have a seizure and began to mouth these curses against God and blasphemies against the church and everything else. And we did, the elders and the deacons of our church did take him in the back room, back behind the altar, this little room, and we did lay hands on him and pray for him.
Did you ever find a cure of instances like that down at the Episcopal Church or the Lutheran Church?
Well, how do you mean, Bob? I'm a Southern Baptist.
Well, I've never heard of such an occurrence at a conservative organization, at a conservative church. It's usually, at the more, at the Pentecostal churches, at the, I don't mean this in a disrespectful sense, but just so that we'll all know what I'm talking about, at the Holy Roller churches. This seems to happen with great regularity. Well, now, I used to go to church for, many years. I attended a Catholic church. And in all of my personal experience with hundreds and thousands of hours I spent in the Catholic Church during various different services, never once did I see or hear of anything like what you described. It only seems to happen in the Pentecostal churches.
Well, this is a very conservative church, and this is a Southern Baptist. I don't know what you know about Southern Baptists, but that is a fairly conservative organization.
Well, what I know about the Southern Baptists is that they're a group of people that fervently believe the devil's everywhere. The devil's in the jukebox, that's why we don't dance. The devil's here, the devil's there, the devil's in a can of beer.
Well, we do believe that. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the devil is in the jukebox, but certainly the music that is played has been inspired by the devil.
So that's my point. Only the people who seem to feel that there are devils everywhere ever encounter them.
I personally don't feel that there are devils everywhere. I personally feel that a lot of things are inspired by the devil, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's right there. I mean, once he's made the music, why would he want to stick around to listen to it?
Well, wait a second. The devil's a supernatural being, right? So, he is everywhere.
So to speak, just as God is everywhere.
If he exists, he is everywhere.
Well, I don't believe that you can have the existence of the God without the devil or the devil without God.
Might you give me some examples, by the way, of music that would be devil-inspired?
Oh, like Slayer or...
how about like a Johnny Mathis love song?
Oh, well, I don't know about that.
Well, Johnny's gay and he's singing about love, so I guess we can imagine what, at least he's reported to be gay. I guess we can imagine what he's really singing about, right?
Yeah, well, I was thinking more along the lines of what, the kids are listening to today, the Motley Crue stuff and...
You mean the devil never got involved in music until the mid to late 1980s?
I'm sure he had, Bob, but I didn't know what you were approaching it from. I didn't know... I would suppose any song that is not, glorifying the Lord is at least somewhat devil-inspired.
Any song that is not glorifying the Lord is devil-inspired.
I said somewhat.
Well, come on now. You can't be somewhat devil-inspired. I mean, you either are or you aren't.
Well,
it's kind of like being partly pregnant.
I guess what I'm trying to say, Bob, is in older songs, they weren't openly praising Satan as they are today. Okay, in this music. So I suppose since it wasn't glorifying the Lord, it was devil-inspired, but only in only in the loosest sense.
The devil didn't understand back then that he could really get to people through music. This is something he's just recently learned.
I don't know, Bob. You're asking me about an area now that I really don't know about. I happen to be 40 years old. I don't listen.
Well, don't you ever think about this kind of stuff?
Well, to a degree, I have children. I certainly wouldn't let them listen to, say, a Megadeth album or something to that nature.
Well, I'll bet you and your wife used to listen to, secular music when you were going together, right? Didn't you worry about it then?
Well, actually, we listened to Southern Gospel, Bob.
Exclusively?
For the most part, I'm sure.
Never listened to Johnny Mathis? You were never driving your wife to be date with the radio on and a Johnny Mathis song or something?
I don't know, Bob. I can't remember. I suppose it's possible. I suppose it's possible. But for the most part, I listen to Southern Gospel, and that, I guess another way of putting it would be Christian country music, or however you'd like, to put it. But that's mostly what we listen to.
So let me go back to this personal experience. You're, 40 years old?
Yeah.
You're not a dumb guy. You're not a recluse. You're out about the world, right? You earn a living?
Yeah.
And, you're a reasonably worldly man, correct? And in 40 years, the only example that you can give to me of this deep satanic force of evil is one poor slob in church one Sunday losing it?
Well, it was the way that he did it, Bob. It was this person before, we'd never really heard a peep out of him. I'll admit he never, was like, shaking hands and praising the Lord and everything, but we'd never heard a peep out of him. He mostly just sat in the back of the auditorium and, kept to himself. And then right in the middle of service one Sunday evening, he just, completely loses it.
Well, isn't it also kind of strange that, all of these people that seem to have this experience are basically quiet, shy people that nobody ever noticed before? The devil, in other words, the devil never really seems to possess a high-profile guy like Lassiter.
I could try to explain that to you, Bob, but you'd have to bear with me.
I'll bear.
All right. As far the devil has to infiltrate the church. From what that's the best word I can come up with it. And if he has, like, say, some long-haired guy with a 666 tattooed on him and I don't know, some sort of a heavy metal T-shirt or something, then that's not going to make it. He has to almost package himself in a way that
Well, wait a second. I'm confused here. You're telling me that the heavy metal guy with a 666 tattooed on him, with the leather jacket with the sleeves cut off and the ridiculous hairdo and the grease paint, who plays loud music that nobody can understand and sings about devil worshipping, is influenced by the devil?
I would say so.
But the devil doesn't use that kind of guy to influence people?
Not in the church. Outside, yes. In his own close to church. But the devil's not dumb, Bob. He knows that if
the devil's not dumb. What's a church? God's house, right?
Yeah.
Who dwells within the church? God, right?
Right.
The devil's been at this for, at least, according to the Bible, something over 5,000 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he knows. He would have to know. He's not a dumb guy. He would have to know that he stands utterly no chance whatsoever in the church. That's why he doesn't send the guy in with 666 tattooed on him and the leather jacket and the electric guitar and the amplifier.
Exactly.
Because he knows that wouldn't work.
Exactly.
Well, he also knows that having some guy named George who's been quiet all of his life and stood in the back of the church suddenly going, ain't going to work either.
Oh, but that's where you're wrong, Bob, because, now this is our fault, really.
How many parishioners did you lose? I mean, how many people said, well, that doesn't for me, there ain't no God, I'm going to go and worship the devil after seeing this? How many did you lose?
Absolutely nobody. If anything, it strengthened people's faith.
Isn't that it's strengthened? You mean more people started showing up?
No, I don't know how many more people started showing up, but there was certainly nobody there after seeing that who had any doubts.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, what I'm saying, Bob, is...
It was a good show. Kind of proved the preacher's point.
Well, I would...
Even guys like George, I don't know what the guy's name was, obviously I'm making that up, that if even quiet guys like George could be affected by the devil, boy, you better be back here next Sunday. And by the way, we're holding services on Wednesday, too.
Well, I don't know about that, Bob. It's just, I just know that the devil works... Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
The devil works...
You're going to hang up on this?
No, the devil works in different ways in different situations. As I was saying, you know, like the 16-year-old kid with the grease paint and the heavy metal jacket and all that, he would probably be out there, you know, trying to get at, say, the teenagers that go to church that do believe. And like the older guy, he would be in the church itself, you know, because he would be able to infiltrate.
So the devil's everywhere.
Yeah.
But you've only seen him once. You've only, in 40 years of life, you've only encountered
him every day,
little
Bob.
instance.
We encounter him every day,
You can say,
Bob.
aha, that was the devil.
But not in such a confrontational manner. In other words, we encounter manifestations of him through other people every day, but we don't see such a direct effect every day.
Might you be kind enough to point out to us some of these manifestations that you run into every day?
Oh, I don't know. Pornography, as I'd already said, rock music.
Wait a second, pornography.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not in favor of pornography. I'm going to assume you're not in favor of pornography, but wasn't it God that, in essence, created pornography by making people ashamed of their bodies? By making them want to cover up their bodies? And then other people said, hey, let's take off the covering.
I don't think so, Bob. It wasn't God's fault that Eve and Adam ate the apple. He told them not to. That's just because they disobeyed him. Don't lay that on God.
But he knew they were going to do it.
He may have, but he still gave them a choice.
But he knew they were going to do it, so there wasn't any choice. I mean, he couldn't be wrong, could he?
Well, Bob, I'll go so far as to say maybe he didn't know. I don't know.
I thank you very much. That was a 5-beller there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 25. I'm confused. Why don't they want to include McHenry? He's a nice guy. I got no problem with McHenry. Do you have any problem with McHenry? Well, the snobs over in the newsroom. Nah, we don't want to include Gary McHenry. 29 and a half minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock. Lutz, Ann, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Hi, Ann.
Is this Charles or Bob Owen?
Yes.
Well, no, Charles or Bob?
Charles.
Charles, okay. I have personal experience. Basically, brother, I just want to mention two things before then. There are two books. One is called The Way of Divine Love by Josefa Menendez.
Yeah, well, we're talking about personal experience and testimony, not books written by someone else.
Okay, sorry. Anyone with a deep spiritual life will come to know Satan one way or another.
Well, how did you come to know Satan, then?
Pardon?
How did you come to know Satan?
I was, harassed for 3 days.
Harassed for 3 days? Could you be more explicit?
Directed to do things that were not really horrible, but just kind of not of God.
Well, what kind of things?
Pardon? Well, I was wearing a cross at one time, and a kind of a yucky-looking holy family, like Joseph and Mary and Jesus, you know, they look like goblins. Told me either take the cross off or I would be beaten by Satan, okay? And I left the cross on.
What kind of cross was it? What was it made out of?
It was a metal cross.
Metal cross?
It was a very dear cross.
Was it made out of gold or silver or pewter?
No, it was a $5 cross. It was no big
$5
deal.
cross,
Okay.
And you used to enjoy wearing this cross?
I learned about sin when very young. When you sin, you bang the nail in Jesus' hand.
You enjoyed...
So at that time, I didn't know I was a sinner.
You enjoyed wearing the cross, though, did you not?
Pardon?
I mean, the cross made you feel good. It made you feel safe. Maybe it even was pretty.
Not that it made me feel safe. It reminded me to be good.
Reminded you to be...
constant reminder.
You couldn't see the cross, but it reminded you to be good.
Right.
Other people saw the cross, not you.
Pardon?
Other people saw the cross, not you. I mean, granted, you probably saw it when you looked in the mirror.
Can you do that again?
I said other people were the ones who saw the cross, not you, except when you looked in the mirror, right? So, in other words, you were wearing the cross for adornment. You liked wearing the cross.
Well, it was something... I can't tell you why I liked it, but I know I liked it.
Okay.
Another reasoning. So, that's all.
And a raggedy family told you to take the cross off.
No, it was a very direct, easy talking kind of a thing, but I saw the Holy Family in kind of like goblin costumes. Really yucky Holy Family.
And you think that was the devil dressed up as the Holy Family?
It was the devil's version of the Holy Family, okay?
So where did you see this?
Pardon?
Where did you see this?
I didn't catch that. This truck.
Where did you see this?
Please repeat that.
For the third and final time, where did you see this?
I was in my home.
You were in your home.
Yes.
Anybody else around?
No.
Nobody else saw this?
No.
And you said there were several days of these kinds of activities. What were some of the others?
I was told to lay in one position as supposedly for a penance. Okay. It's a very uncomfortable position. And finally I caught the devil in a lie, and that's how I knew it was the devil.
What was the lie?
I don't remember, but I do remember catching him in a lie. I was like double checking.
Oh, come on, Ann. If I had a personal experience with the devil and caught him in a lie, I think I tend to remember it.
If you had the last 2 years I've had, you wouldn't remember it. No, I've got everything in journals.
Had a rough last couple of years, huh?
Oh, yeah.
In what way?
In what way? In every way, I guess.
Drugs, alcohol, that kind of stuff?
No. I've learned about poverty. I've learned about divorce. I've learned about being careful with your friends.
Divorce is a horrible, horrible thing to go through. Did some of these things happen right around that time?
Pardon?
I said divorce is a horrible thing to go through. Did some of these things happen right around that time?
No, this was before then. Basically, it wasn't connected to anything. I had a regular prayer life. I pray the first hour from 5 to 6 each morning. And I think the devil would have taken advantage of the situation. So what happened is I moved into Ladies' Home Journal a little bit more tightly because I was moving too much into spirituality and opening myself to the other side.
Reading things like
my fervor. What?
You mean reading things like horoscopes and astrology and?
Oh no, none of that. It was just if you become incredibly spiritual, the devil does not like it because you change the world. So he will try to put you out of commission, one way or another, by trickery or just
by making you lie on your side in a painful position.
Isn't it stupid?
I mean, wouldn't you think it would make a lot more sense for the devil to, for example, say, Ann, go out and get in your car, rev up the engine, take that car up to about 85 miles an hour, and slam into a brick wall?
Well, see, the devil knows
that would put you out of commission, right?
To do that, but he knows I would be stupid enough to lay in a position for penance. He knows me well. He knows everyone well. So.
Well, don't you think the devil is powerful? He's a supernatural being, right?
The devil has no power that the human being does not give him. He has power because
then he's not Then he's not supernatural. I mean, isn't the devil powerful enough to, for example, lock your accelerator and make that car slam into a brick wall? Isn't the devil powerful enough to do that?
He can lock it, but you can unlock it through prayer.
You can unlock it through prayer.
The Christian has power over evil if he takes authority over it. If he doesn't take authority over it, he has no power. He must take authority. And many people are afraid of taking authority.
In other words, God just kind of, when the devil would lock your accelerator down to the floor, God would just kind of sit back and wait and see if Ann prayed to him to unlock it.
Well, one of the teachings of being a Christian is learning how to take authority over the evil one. And you have to learn it, or you'll have a rough time.
Why doesn't the evil one seem to have any authority over non-believers?
Over non-believers?
Yeah.
Because he is their God. If you're not reporting to God,
and you don't. No, you're not. If you don't believe in supernatural, personal type gods, be they good or evil, so that's what a non-believer is. A non-believer has neither a good God nor a bad God. He doesn't have a personal God.
Well,
so why is it that the devil doesn't seem to have any effect on these people?
Everybody has a centering force in their life. Okay,
no,
whatever it is their God. It can be sex, it can be money.
I beg your pardon, Ann. There are people in this world who do not believe in any form of supernatural power.
All right, so they're placing their belief in a natural power, then, right?
No, Ann, you don't have to believe in anything. The people who are atheists do not necessarily worship money, or worship sex, or worship anything. As a matter of fact, that's what makes them atheists. They don't worship anything.
Every person has a centering force.
No, they don't, Ann.
It's called your values, okay? Whatever it is that you treasure.
Well, values have nothing whatsoever to do with supernatural beings. Values are very explainable.
If you value God, it becomes a belief, yes?
If you value God, it becomes a belief. I'm afraid I don't quite understand. That phrase doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
Would you accept that everyone has values? of some kind.
Yes, Ann, and they're very easily explained.
Okay. A believer has a value on God. They treasure God.
Uh-huh.
Because at some point, God has revealed himself to them. For whatever reason, whatever time.
Uh-huh.
So, this is how I would connect to non-believers and believers. I believe God's present in everyone. But in some people it's an uncomfortable presence. But he's
yeah, but we're not talking,
come to him.
and we're not talking about does God exist. We're talking about does the devil exist.
We have pain and death. That's the proof for me.
We have pain.
No pain and no death if there were no devil.
There would be no pain and no death if there were no devil.
Right. We would be in heaven if there were no devil.
Well, I thought you were going to go to heaven, Ann.
No, we're supposed to bring heaven here.
Well, now, wait a second. The only way that you can go to heaven, or not go to heaven, rather, is to do one of the things that God arbitrarily said makes me unhappy. For example, like masturbating, or, let's see, maybe not believing in the right God. Things that God said make me unhappy. These are the only things that can keep you from going to heaven, right?
Sin separates you from God, okay? But you can have heaven right here on earth.
Well, sin separates, sin is a list of things, some of them perfectly reasonable, some of them, a little strange, but sin is a list of things that God made up. And told you would make you unhappy,
right? God who is
perfectly
wise, who made us, who knows what.
Wait a second. God who is perfectly wise makes up this list, many of which are just arbitrary and foolish, that really have nothing to do with anything, like uttering bad words.
But
is perfectly wise, and then sends somebody down to the earth to tempt you to do the things that he said are no-nos on the list? That's perfectly wise?
Not to do the no-nos. He sent you to love one another. That's all he
No. I'm talking about the devil that he sent.
Oh, the devil.
Yeah, remember God created the devil.
The devil was an angel, became a devil because he refused to be obedient to his God.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ann, but God must have known that that's what was going to happen. And then we can assume that, since God can destroy cities and God can destroy entire groups of people, that he could have, when the angel fell, destroyed the angel. But instead, he sent the angel to the earth to tempt people to do these things on this arbitrary list that God said he would punish you for doing.
Would you want someone to come to you because you told them to love you or because they freely chose to love you?
Because they freely chose to love me. No question about that,
Ann.
God
is asking. Please freely choose to love me.
Whoa, not at all, Ann. What he's doing is he's saying, if you don't love me, I'm going to send you to hell.
No.
But if you do love me, I'll reward you.
You're going to be in pain, okay?
You see, You see, Ann, I love my wife. Deeply, deeply love that woman. Not because she gives me things, but because she is good, because she is just, because she is merciful, understanding.
Very godly woman.
I deeply, deeply love that woman. She has never promised me eternal salvation. She hasn't even, I had to act like a maniac for a week and a half to get a damned car out of her. I mean, and she never, I don't love her because she threatened to do bad things against me if I didn't love her. See, that's beautiful, pure love. It's an unselfish love. But if I loved the woman because she gave me money or gave me a big, pretty house, then my love would be very suspect. Or if I loved the woman because she said, if you don't love me, I'm going to, I don't know, hold an iron to your feet. That wouldn't be, I wouldn't treasure that kind of love at all, would you?
Yeah, I think we have immature love and mature love.
Boy, I don't believe I've ever heard truer words in my entire life, Ann. Jack in Clearwater. Jack, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Bob?
Yeah, Jack.
The way that I usually am able to tell that there's a devil in that is I'm trying to think the best way to describe this.
Well, that's the best way.
It's through other people's actions.
Through other people's actions, I see. Could you be a little more specific?
Well, it's like there's certain things that happen in the world that are just so evil and so wicked that, in other words, let me think. You know a magnet, right? There's a positive and a negative.
Right.
And it seems to me that you've said before on your shows that you can't rule out the possibility of a supreme good being.
That's correct. That's correct. I do not rule out the prospect of supreme beings.
Well, could you rule out the fact that there would be, just as there is a supreme being which is good, a supreme being which is not good?
I have no way of knowing what the temperament of the supreme being might be. But simply because there was a good supreme being is utterly no guarantee that there would be a bad supreme being, especially one that the good supreme being had in essence created. I would not consider a being who created evil to be anything worth getting involved with.
Well, it would seem to me that God gave Satan a choice to do what he did, and that he had to send him somewhere.
I had to say, well, what's wrong with Pluto?
Well, I think...
See, because the Bible says very specifically that he was sent to Earth.
Well, I think that God really wanted to test us.
Wanted to test us? He didn't know how we would react then.
Exactly.
He's not smart enough to know how we would react.
I think he wanted to see the caliber of people. Not just anyone could get into heaven.
Well, it would seem to me that, he could have made the caliber of people anything he wanted them to be.
Not give them free choice.
Sure he could have. I beg your pardon. Of course he could have.
I don't see how. You have to choose good. You don't just... He couldn't have just made people good, or else they wouldn't have had free choice.
Well, I appreciate you have to choose good. Yes, my dog has to choose to remember to, wee-wee out in the backyard as opposed to wee-wee on the rug. When the dog wee-wees on the rug, as angry as I get, I've yet to blame the devil for the dog doing that. And the dog does have free will. The dog can wee-wee inside, or the dog can wee-wee outside. The dog, most of the time, wee-wees outside, and she does that to avoid being punished by me. Not because there is a force of evil in the world that made her wee-wee inside.
Well, I don't know. The way I look at it is that God only wanted those people that in heaven that did freely choose him, and there was something...
Well, what do you think he needs people in heaven for? Was he lonely?
I don't know. I when people die, they go somewhere, and I've just always assumed it was to heaven.
Well, but God made people, right?
Yeah.
And the reason he made people was to have somebody hanging around in heaven?
Well, he's sort of...
Couldn't he have made more angels or something?
Yeah, well, look at it. Maybe I can try to approach it from this angle, Bob. It talks in the Bible of Jesus being the King of kings, the Lord of lords, and every king needs a kingdom, and you need people in your kingdom.
Well, I thought he had angels to start with.
Well,
no, you don't. Come on, now you don't have to have. If you're God, you don't have to have people in your kingdom.
But I think he
must
have
gonads or something.
He must have wanted to.
He must have wanted people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he derived this great plan to put people on Earth, put an evil supernatural power far more powerful than the mere mortals on Earth, and then just kind of sit back and see what would happen.
Yeah, to see who would choose him. And who
so in other words, this is kind of like an experiment that he's running.
Well, that's not real far-fetched. I suppose that's not...
Well, neither you nor I know, whether or not that's what he has in mind, and it's kind of foolish to speculate on it. So let's get back to the original thrust of the program. Give me testimony that the devil exists.
Well, as I say, just, the way things are in the world is perfect proof. I mean, the very fact
that people can only do bad because the devil makes them do bad.
People only do bad because they have the sin nature in them, which the devil praises.
Well, don't give me sin nature. People can only do bad because the devil makes them do bad.
The devil encourages them.
I mean, you couldn't do bad without the devil, right?
No.
Well, then what do you have the devil for?
Well, I mean,
if you could be bad without the devil, why did this perfect, all-wise God create something he didn't need?
No, I don't believe you can be bad without the devil.
Like a cow doesn't have a hand on its side. It doesn't need a hand. It was created, I'm told, by this perfect, wise God. So if you don't need the devil to be sinful, what the hell do you think he made the devil for?
No, I believe you do need the devil to be sinful.
Well, then make up your mind. A moment ago, you told me you didn't.
I didn't hear you. Okay, I don't believe... I believe that the devil... You have to have the devil in order for there to be evil.
Have you ever done anything wrong?
Yes.
Devil made you do it?
The devil encouraged me.
How convenient. Don Richards standing by with a W. We are 2 hours, 52 minutes into the program. That all of those people out there, who I call friends, and many of them really and truly are friends, men and women of the cloth, who are devoted followers and sometimes even devoted personal friends of this program. The people who tell me over the phone, the people who tell me over the dinner table, people who tell me over the back fence, if that's what it comes down to, how much they grimace when we do a show like this, when poor souls get on the air and try desperately to answer these questions. I will point out to the audience that 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 43 seconds into the program, not one of those good people who depend on the existence of the devil, who have devoted their lives, who earned their livings convincing people that there is a devil that they must be saved from, not one of those people has called to give testimony to the existence of the devil. There's a very good reason why they haven't. It's because they can't. But when they put on their clerical garb and get before you in the pulpit or come before you on a television tube, they are not honest with you. They don't tell you that they can't. Molly in Tampa. Molly.
His shorts on. He was dressed, casual like a summer person, but his shorts said Satan on it also. And he looked at me and he smiled. He says, I've come to see you. Well, I've never so scared in my life.
Where was Satan written on the shorts?
Right on the leg part of the shorts.
On the leg part of the shorts, kind of close to the crotch or close to the seat?
No, that part wasn't that revealing. But he did have it on his shirt. He said that most all of his clothes had the name Satan on it. Now, I don't know if he was the real Satan that had come by because I had been calling on him all night. But I sure as heck wasn't going to find out.
Oh.
When I went home, I told my mom about it.
Yeah.
And she says, look, you better ask for forgiveness. Whether it was or not, you better ask for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I never seen him again, but he was the weirdest-looking person, and, it had the name Satan on his shirt and Satan all over his shorts.
Was he well-spoken?
Yes, he was. Very well-spoken.
Kind of a silver-tongued devil.
Very good manners.
Mm-hmm.
And, but like I said, there's no saying whether he was or he wasn't, but I wasn't going to find out.
You said that he told you that all of his clothes have Satan written on it. So in other words,
he would draw quite a bit of attention if he went without it.
I've never thought of Satan as being much of a fashion plate,
Nah. He was very well dressed. He had a nice shirt on, but muted shorts. And, I'm not pulling your leg. I'm not trying to kid you or anything. I'm in my late 60s, and I got out of bed because I'm sick just to make this phone call. I'm not kidding you. This actually did happen to me when I was in my early 20s.
Well, thanks, Molly.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. We'll give that 3 bells. Off we go to Kathy in Largo. Kathy, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Just want to say that I feel sorry for you.
You feel sorry for me because I do not have devils in my life.
No, that you don't have the love of the Lord in your life.
Well, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about devils. I don't have any devils in my life.
You cannot have the Lord and have the devil at the same time.
No, I think it's the other way around. If you have one, you've got to have the other.
That you have the devil. So you.
No, Kathy. That's what you fail to understand. You see, if you don't believe in the Lord, then you don't believe in the Lord of the Bible. Then you don't believe in devils.
Let me tell you something.
And you feel sorry for me because I do not live in a world surrounded by devils?
Let me tell you something. The Lord is the giver of life.
Well, we weren't talking about that. That's the topic for another program. But we're talking about today's devils. And you feel sorry for me because I don't have devils?
I'm sorry for you because you lost out. It sounds.
I lost out when I don't have devils?
You lost out the way you're talking. I heard you in different programs too, and you were swearing. You said bad things and.
Bad things like what?
Oh, all kinds of bad things.
Well, give me an example of some of the bad things I've said.
I can't remember them all.
Oh, well, I didn't ask for all of them. Just give me one.
And I thought I hear that, and I said,
well, I didn't ask for all of them. Just give me one, Kathy.
Tell that man how
you're going to kill me.
It's so vulgar and everything. And so I says, I'm just going to tell you right now that you couldn't have Jesus in your heart with in your heart when you're so vicious against people when you're talking.
When I'm vicious, could you give me an example of how I've been vicious? I guess she couldn't. Well, there have been so many of them that she couldn't think of one.
Oh, you're a naughty person, Bob.
I thought I had seen it all. Norman, I thought I had seen it all. Never did I think I would ever. I mean, today I'm actually astounded. I will leave the studio in a moment or two, shaking my head, tugging at my beard, saying, did she really say that she feels sorry for me because I don't have devils? And that's in essence what the woman said. Do you have devils in your life, Norman?
Well, sure. So
I'm not talking about Schumann. No, we're talking about Lucifer.
No, you're about to have one, too. I heard...
What, is Michael's in the building? I
heard a rumor that you're about to try to quit smoking. Now, if that's not putting a devil on your back, I don't know what is.
You're hopeless. You're just hopeless.
I know that.
Are you going out trick-or-treating today?
No, yeah, I'm going to the Clearwater Mall.
I can see if you got your rubber mask on, but it's the same damn one you wear every day.
My Nixon
That's not really for real. Go ahead. Come over here. See if that comes off.